Hey y'all, how you doing? Welcome to All Things Female. I'm your host, The Fury of Abyss. How was your week? I hope it was good. Girl, I was fighting depression for a good few days. Sure was. And do you know why? Apparently because I wasn't processing. I hope it was good. What we freaking do? Imagine that. I was fighting depression for a good few days. Sure was. And do you know why? Apparently because I wasn't processing. I hope it was good. Imagine that. I was fighting depression for a good few days. What's the echo? I'm trying to fix it. And do you know why? Apparently because I wasn't processing. There we go. That should be better. Yeah, girl. I wasn't processing my emotions, and I don't know why it took so long for me to figure that out, but it did. Yeah, girl. I wasn't processing my emotions, and I don't know why it took so long for me to figure that out, but it did. Hold on, is there still echo? I think that's better. Hey, Kateri, how you doing? I'm feeling I'm having a technical difficulty. Let me see if it sounds better. Hey, Kateri, how you doing? Let me see if it sounds better. Hey, Kateri, how you doing? Let me see if it sounds better. It doesn't. It sounds like crickets. What is that? Hold on. I'm gonna log off and come right back on. Is that better? Okay, I don't hear it anymore. That's better. Hello again. Welcome to All Things Female. I'm your host, The Fury of Abyss. What's up, Kateri? Good to see you. Girl, I love your vlogs. You know so much about animals and plants. That is so cool. You are legit living my dream. Oh my God. Your vlogs are so interesting, and I'm so glad that you started vlogging. It's really, really good. I saw when you had that snake the other day. I thought that was cool. I don't know what was going on with that earlier. I was hoping don't do it anymore. Okay, so let's jump into it. The topic that we're dealing with this week is dealing with emotions, processing them. I was never taught that. There's a lot of things I wasn't taught. I wasn't taught about credit scores. My adoptive parents did teach me about the value of education. They taught me, well, my adoptive mom taught me about balancing checkbooks and stuff like that. And she always had me in extracurricular activities. But the things that she did not teach me about, my power as a woman and how to wield it and how to protect my heart, how to carry myself in relationships, and how to process trauma. When I was growing up, whenever I would go through something traumatic and I had some pretty big things happen to me, everybody just went on like nothing even happened. I wasn't talked to about it. I wasn't given any support, nothing. I was just left to deal with distraught. And I grew up that way. And I don't want to raise my kids like that. And I didn't even realize that it was such a problem until it became intrusive thoughts and nightmares. And I had to go to therapy and do independent research to find out what is going on. What is going on? I had to be diagnosed as bipolar. I had to really start trying to figure out how I could heal myself. Well, in order to heal yourself, you got to figure out what the hell is wrong with you, right? So you go to therapy and then you get these diagnoses and you don't understand them, which, okay, so Kateri, remember when you were like that bipolar was a stress response or a trauma response? Okay, remember I told you I was going to talk to my therapist about it? Well, I did. So I talked to her about it, and what she told me was if your parents are bipolar, you will be born with a predisposition to have bipolar. In order for it to onset, you would need to have a trauma. So she says she believes that without the trauma and the genetic predisposition to bipolar, we don't actually have to end up dealing with the bipolar. But since I guess I had both because I have a bipolar child, probably more than one. And so one of my parents, if not both, were probably bipolar. I'm adopted. I have no information about my actual blood parents, but my adoptive parents really did not do what they were supposed to do when it came to trauma, which is why when I got custody of my kids back 6 years ago, I made sure everybody had a therapist. Okay? I run my house like a recovery center, not even gonna hold you. I understood that they needed a very controlled environment and consistency, routines, and a lot of open dialogue to deal with their traumas. So, in trying to fix my kids, I realized, girl, you're not dealing with your own trauma. And that's where the drug use came from. And it's not just like drug use, it can be it's any unhealthy distraction, an addiction to media, an addiction to people, an addiction to video games, an addiction to food, anything but dealing with your emotions. And I'm like, girl, stopping the drugs wasn't enough. You had to find out, why were you using the drugs to begin with? What are you trying to run away from? Emotions. And that goes so much deeper with, why do you run away from the things that bring you the most joy? For me, making music. I love to write. But my best music comes from the deepest parts of me that are full of pain and having to face a lot of trauma, having to face a lot of things that you really don't want to deal with. But when you don't deal with them, they make themselves known through nightmares and intrusive thoughts. When you try to go to sleep at night and you can't, and you're hyper focused on all your mistakes in your past, you're having reoccurring dreams about the same places. I saw a YouTube video about that. And the title was like, "Do you keep dreaming about dead people and places from your past?" And I'm like, is this for me? Is this video for me? Because I swear, every night for like 10 years, I keep dreaming about my adoptive mom's house. And it's like, I experienced so much trauma there. It's the one place you would think you don't want to think about, but I always go back there. And it's just like a building upon the dream before it. It's like a second existence at this point. I feel like I never really get any rest. Naps give me more rest than sleeping at night, because when I go to sleep at night, I'm in another existence and it just carries on from the night before. I have responsibilities, my family's there. They're different ages and they may look different, but it's definitely them. And I always have a lot of responsibility, so it's a lot. So I feel like I wake up exhausted and I have to pay very close attention to my dreams, which the mugwort helps a lot. You can drink it as a tea or you can smoke it. So I saw that video, and what I got from it, it was like, are you stuck in the past? And this is what I got from the video that said, this is why you keep dreaming about dead people and people from and places from your past. Are you stuck in the past? Are you still trying to prove something to someone from your past? You need to let the past go. You need to let these people go. You need to let go of trying to prove something to people from the past, because you can't. So I figured out that I was still trying to prove to my ex-husband and my adoptive mom that I was like worthy enough, because those are two very toxic relationships where I had no voice and I was always made to feel like I wasn't good enough. So watching that video led me to those thoughts, because I wrote it down. I wrote down who I was still trying to prove things to and all that stuff and why. And it made me realize that I wasn't like processing my emotions. So I wrote down, well, first I committed to doing that, and then I had to do a little bit of research. How to process emotions. Hi, S'more Bear. Hi, Kayla and Liam. Good to see you. Blind for Duff. Hey, Renee. Hi. Hey, Kateri. Yes, I always wanted to be wanted. My mother. This is very relatable. Hey, hi. So nice to see all of you. I was minding my own business playing my favorite game last night. And oh, yeah. 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 I'm sorry, Kateri. So this is what I found when I researched how to process emotions, and this is what I do. This is what my channel is about. My channel is about raising teens on a budget, healing from childhood trauma, eating clean, and like using everything except pills to try to fix your mental health. Because I'm a recovering addict, and I literally do not want to risk relapse by depending on any type of medication. And plus, synthetic meds just don't gel well with my body. They don't make me feel good. So Every day I acquire new knowledge, and every day I try to get better, and I just share that information with you all. So that's basically what I'm about. My whole life is based around healing and trying to heal my kids, and really having to face the things that have happened to me in my past, because it's been a lot and I haven't dealt with them, and they affect me now. And I can't just accept, oh, you're bipolar. That's not good enough, because I isolate. I don't have relationships. I don't go out. I don't do anything except deal with being freaking triggered all the time. I have sensitivity issues. Everything is too loud, everything is too noisy, everything is too dirty. I constantly have to reorganize stuff. I always have to keep my house spotless. So like I don't have the space or capacity to have relationships outside of taking care of my kids. I honestly don't feel like I would have the wherewithal to hold myself together if I wasn't responsible for my kids, because it's just so overwhelming. Going outside, talking to people, being around people. I feel like I'm constantly under threat. I always feel like I have to be war ready. I'm always triggered by everything. And so, like, I have to manage that. Trauma gets trapped in your body and your nervous system. So, even though logically, when I go into a room, I'm surveying it. What are the exits? Is this person a threat? How would I defend myself against this person? And it's 1,000 times worse when I have my kids with me. I feel like I have to be like a one man army unto myself. And it's crazy. It's crazy. And then, not to mention the spiritual aspect of it. When you can sense other people's emotions or their pain, it's just a lot. If you pick up on the fact that something might not be all the way human in the space that you're in, it's very overwhelming. It's very overwhelming. And then you have to manage your own emotions, because you don't want to end up hurting people because of the things that you think. So it's better to just, well, for me, right now, before I can get all of this stuff under control, to just isolate myself, because I'm so sensitive to everything. Any type of change in my diet or in my environment or in my schedule is just overwhelming and sends me into a spiral. So everything that I do has to be very controlled and very calculated. Everything. How I eat, when I eat, what I eat, everything. My environment, who I talk to, the media that I take in, how often I work out. I have to do that every day. My body, even stretching, physically having to stretch because of the damage that's done to my body from a car accident. But just your mind and your body need to be connected and need to be on the same page, or they're going to be working against each other. Okay, that's when your face start breaking out and you having stomach issues and you can't sleep and you're irritated all the time. You got to take into account everything that you're going through, what you're watching, the relationships you have, what you're exposed to. So I try to expose myself to nothing, and I really sit in a room trying to process my emotions. Otherwise, scenes from my life and my trauma will pop up in the middle of the day. It used to happen when I was driving, had to sell my car, couldn't do it. I would be driving and boom, a graphic scene from trauma from my past would show up while I'm driving. Yo, driving is something different, because not only are a lot of people under the influence, you never know what people are going through mentally or spiritually while they're driving. People have seizures while they're driving. I would really have flashbacks of my trauma while I'm driving. I've had to pull over on the side of the road because I was having an asthma attack. When I was at work, I would have asthma attacks in the bathroom. I would be doing YouTube videos and filming myself having this, because it's like people don't show that part of mental health. And it's like somebody got to show the truth. So this is what I learned. How to process emotions. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. It's 5 steps. 3 of them I was already doing, but 2 of them I didn't know anything about. Let's dig into it. Number 1 is accepting your emotions. That sounds easier than it might be, because I don't want to always feel the way I feel about things that have happened to me. Sometimes I want to be angry. Sometimes I want to be violent when people have hurt me. But then, because of my spiritual beliefs, I feel like I have to be good and I have to forgive people. And sometimes I have a hard time with feeling angry or feeling sad and allowing myself to feel that way without like attaching guilt to it. So accepting your emotions may sound easy, but it don't give easy when you don't want to accept the emotions that you are feeling. And then feelings can get really complicated, like really complicated. Like when people are sexually assaulted and they like enjoyed the sexual part of it, but they're still traumatized because it was an assault, but because of their biology, they got enjoyment out of it, and not being able to express that to people can drive them crazy. You see, emotions can be very complicated. How you can be in love with someone who's maybe narcissistic or maybe abused you, but you love them, you genuinely love them, and it's hard to get out of a relationship with them. Emotions can be complicated. You can love and hate people all in the same thing. It just gets very difficult, which is why it's important for us to process our emotions. For you end up in prison somewhere because you done tweet the fuck off because you don't know how to keep it together because you haven't managed your emotions. Number 2, mindfulness. Recognize and accept emotions, understanding that they will pass. I read something really nice the other day. It said, even trees accept change because they know it's only for a season. And they showed trees in the different, you know, fall, leave with them losing their leaves, and then winter being bare, and then spring coming back alive, and then summer totally full. And I was like, wow, I love when they use pictures to put things into perspective because it helps me, and I'll never forget that. Sometimes I do look at nature and I envy her. Like, them dandelions ain't worried about paying no bills. Them birds chirp every day. I don't see no depressed bird out here trying to pop no pill for no depression. These trees looking real fucking calm. They ain't never worried about leaving their leaf. They look fine. And, you know, sometimes it's good to look at nature and remind yourself that you don't have to be caught up in the fear matrix. But it's easier said than done, because what the hell? Mindfulness. Recognize and accept emotions, understanding that they will pass. Separate your emotions from what's actually happening. This avoids acting impulsively. I could just hear my ex right now talking about something. See, that's what I be trying to tell y'all women. Separating your emotions from what's actually happening. I can give you a great example of that. I was getting so triggered by my kids not cleaning up behind themselves perfectly because when I walk into a room, because of how my brain is wired, I can zero in on like a speck of dust or like rice on the floor or like hair. It's been the biggest thing. Why is your 4C hair all over my bathroom walls? Right? So I'm going in there and I'm taking it personally. I'm getting angry. I'm anger texting the group chat first thing in the morning. I'm ruining my day. When I realized that maybe they just didn't see it. Maybe not everybody sees things the way that you do. And you zero in on things because they don't. And that's the benefit of having a family. Everybody's different. They see things you don't see. You see things that they don't see. And everybody works together and benefits. What is actually happening? They just didn't see the hair. What are my emotions telling me? They're not picking up the hair because they want to be disrespectful. Pay attention to what's actually happening. Mindfulness. And that mindfulness takes a lot of deep breathing and logic because I have to not allow my body to respond when I'm triggered physically, immediately. I have to, and it always starts with a deep breath because that calms down your nervous system. Got to take a deep breath so that you're not snapping immediately. By the time I get to the, I'm calm. I ain't even got to say nothing. I can move better. Like a queen on a chessboard. 3, journaling. Oh my God. This has been so powerful for me. Journal to make sense of your emotions. Feel more in control. This can lead for a clearer mind, helping you be more productive and make better decisions. I read something the other day that said, if it ain't written, it ain't real. When I tell you, when I go back through my journals, everything that I've written down has happened. All of it. All of it. Writing down things helps me clear my mind. It helps me make sense of how I feel. I won't even know what I'm about to write, but I make a space for myself to write things every day, especially since I don't have a partner or somebody to bounce stuff off of. I have my therapist. I see her once every other week. All the kids go to therapy. Like, it's non-negotiable. But, like, it helps me understand how I feel. Honestly, I write down goals and I organize my thoughts. I like that. Sometimes I doodle. And I find that that blank page is a space where I can really be myself. That blank page will never tell me I have to be anything other than who I really am. And that's why I love writing. I love being a writer. I love making music. But even sometimes in my music, I feel I have to restrain myself because I know other people will listen to it and be influenced by it. And I hold back a lot of my rage and don't put, there's a lot of things that I want to say that I don't say because I feel the burden of like social responsibility to not put that type of stuff out there. But in my journals on that blank page, I can actually be myself and say how I actually feel. Because who gonna say it? Number 4, cognitive reappraisal. This technique involves recognizing negative thought patterns and changing them to more effective ones. Ain't nothing about a little bit of alchemy. Paul, what they said, we were talking about this in the Universal Law. What's it? The law of polarity. I remember that. Hold on now. Let me pull it up. The law of rhythm. Yep. This universal law states that everything is on a continuum and has an opposite. We can suppress and transform undesirable thoughts by concentrating on the opposite pole. It is the law of mental vibrations. Yeah, very simple. Cognitive reappraisal. Recognizing negative thought patterns and changing them to more effective ones. Very easy example. Thinking that you can't do something. This isn't going to work out. This is going to work out. This is going to work out. I can't do this. I can do this. I can do this. And understanding that if it ends up that you can't, making mistakes is part of learning. Let's stop taking making mistakes personally. That doesn't mean that you can't do shit. It just means that you can't do it yet. Keep trying. Why give up? Einstein said about his own self that he was no more intelligent than the average man. He just stuck with problems longer than the average man. And that was Einstein talking about his own intelligent self. You got to stick shit out, bro. You can't keep giving up and thinking, oh, if it didn't work, I can't do it. I can't do shit. No. Okay? Maybe it didn't work out because you thought it wasn't going to work out. I remember there was this study where these kids were taking a test. So the teachers told group A that it was an easy test, it wouldn't take them very long, and that they would probably do well. Everybody passed. Group B, the teachers, same test. The teachers were like, this is really hard. Some of you are probably going to fail. I don't know if y'all going to get this. Everybody failed, okay? Wars are one in the mind. Number 5, stay present in your body. Again, with the deep breathing, I can't stay present in my body without constant prayer and deep breath. Studies show that our emotions are stored in our body and our posture can directly affect how we feel. So, I cannot stand him. This freaking ignorant ass Gemini, okay? My son used to take video of me as I was walking because I was slumped over. And he told me I needed to fix my posture. Shout out to Roger. Thank you for doing that because I did fix my posture. And I do find that when I'm feeling a little bit low, I tend to crouch like this, like an old woman, stirring soup in a cauldron in the middle of the woods. But I find that when I stand up straight and I do my proper stretching, what is it, ergonomics? I feel more confident. Breathe from the core. And this has to do with moving around a lot. A lot of this has to do with getting up off of my ass and out of my head. Processing my emotions means making a lot of space for me to think and a lot of space for me to move around. I find that when I'm cleaning, I'm working out my problems, I'm praying, and I'm not necessarily asking for anything, but I'm just saying thank you and going over the things that I'm grateful for in my mind. And you know, being grateful will align you with abundance. You can't get more if you don't appreciate what you have. And sometimes I forget how much I have. So as I move around, my mind starts to wander. And I'm reminded of the fact that what I have now, be it so humble, used to be things that I dreamt about. My freedom is something I used to pray for, cry for, stare at the moon and beg for, and I have it, and it means so much to me. Having Masters of Fate Music, being able to own my own music, have my own label, have my own kids, run my house the way I want to, be off of drugs, like that on its own, in itself, it's like being sentenced to hell and getting a reprieve. It's such a miracle, and that's why I share my story, because I've seen so many people die just because they didn't have any support. And that's crazy. Like, people really could have got off the drugs and gotten their kids back if somebody would have believed in them. And I've seen so many people lose their life because people told them they wasn't shit and they believed them. So they just, like, played that role out, and that's crazy. So, like, as much love as I can pour into other people, that's what I'm finna do, because that's what I feel like I'm here for. I feel like everybody's ultimate purpose is to show love and to give love and to understand love, you know what I'm saying? And to express it in your unique way, you feel me? Or don't, and be part of the dark side. So, that was it. Accepting your emotions, which I feel like is the hardest part. Acceptance is always the hardest part. Even with like recovery and getting off of drugs, accepting that I had a problem was the hardest part. Especially when you're an alcoholic. I was a drug addict and an alcoholic. I didn't even know that I had a problem because drinking was something that everybody around me was doing and it was socially acceptable. Heroin, like, you know, obviously you're not supposed to be doing that. But drinking, I didn't know that I had a drinking problem until I started craving it. And then when I started researching that, I'm like, oh, Girl, you a whole drunk. But yes, accepting your emotions, I feel like that's probably the hardest part for anything, acceptance. Two, mindfulness, recognizing and accepting your emotions, understanding that they will pass. That's very freaking comforting. There was also in the universal laws and principles governing life about cycles and seasons. Keeping that in mind for the past week has been very comforting because usually that's an easy way to fall into depression, thinking that your current circumstance is forever. And me reminding myself that this is all part of my development. That was in the universal law too. Universal law of relativity, we are all tested to show ourselves approved. It's all about it developing our souls and all of that good stuff. So keeping those things in mind about everything is a season and we all being tested made me feel like obviously there's hope. It's literally just a test. You don't, when something bad happens, you don't have to feel like it's the end of the freaking world. It's literally just a test. Your ass ain't dead. It's a solution to every problem. Journaling, obviously, just write it down. Like, some words have such a deep preconceived notion that it's hard for you to do it. If journaling isn't your word, like some people cannot stand the word yoga. I noticed that guys used to hate that. I'm like, "Ugh, stretch that, just stretch." Okay, they'll do that. To say yoga, they don't want to do it. Okay, fine. Writing down how you feel, you can burn it, you can throw it away, you can flush it down the toilet, it doesn't matter. But just writing down how you feel, even if you destroy it, will get it out of you. Things like getting tattoos, painting, writing, dancing, working out, all of these things get your emotions out of you. These are all ways to process the emotions. My favorite ways to process emotions are exercising, basically getting out into nature. I love to walk around in nature and I love to write. And recently I liked painting. I'm not really like that great at it, but I really enjoy it. Cognitive reappraisal, basically when you have a bad thought, counteract it with a good one. Just make it up. It don't matter whether you actually feel that good thing that you're saying to yourself. You're soothing yourself. It's like a piece of candy, a piece of emotional candy. You're feeding yourself positivity. Even if you feel like trash, it don't matter. Feed yourself that emotional piece of candy, make yourself feel better. It don't have to be true. Just it will be true. Just keep saying it. It's going to be true. Don't worry about it. Okay? Just support yourself with that emotional candy. You're going to need it. Some days are lower than others. And not beating yourself up when you feel low. It's okay. Almost needing to prepare for it. Look at your low days like cloudy with a chance of rain. You don't live in the freaking desert. It's going to rain. Those are your sad emotions. Prepare for it. Have an umbrella. Well, what are my umbrellas? A nice good book, hot chocolate on deck, and my eye massager. These are all things that I know are going to make me feel better. Fresh fruit, and I have them around in case I have a low day. These are my umbrellas. Always prepare for rain. Stay present in your body. The only thing that helps me stay present in my body is praying because that keeps you present. And deep breathing. I've done a lot of social media detox, just not being in media because I find when I'm not, I think about stuff more, which is good for my mentals. After I processed my emotions the other day. After I determined how I felt about something, I looked out the window for like 45 minutes, and just looking at the clouds and how blue the sky was, and watching the leaves blow back and forth in the wind and the trees, and I just felt very one with everything. And I just sat in that space and I just thought. I just sat with my thoughts and I felt very connected to myself. So that's how I pray stay present in my body, is disconnected from everything else, keeping like these little spaces of like time to just sit with yourself, and just all the answers come. It's just all you had to do was just sit quietly, just sit in a space where there wasn't like a TV or a phone or a child or a dog or an alarm. It's amazing what happens when you just like get rid of all distractions. See, I'm learning so much and I love sharing it with you because there's a lot of things that were missed when I was growing up, and I don't want to be that parent. Like, it's very important to me how I develop my children. If something happens to me, I want them to be excellent. I want them to be able to move strategically in this world. I don't want them to be victims. I don't want them to make other people victims. How they develop is important to me, and in order for that to happen, I have to learn all of the things that I missed. There are holes in me, and there's holes in my training because the people that raised me did not want me and didn't put the time into developing me properly. So, excuse me. I'm sorry. Talk about distractions. He always does this. And I knew he was going to. Hey, Daria. Hey, Renee. Trees get sad, birds get depressed, feelings happen to everything. Sitting up really helps. Yes, very, very true. I was surrounded by so many crappy people. I just don't trust anyone. I relate to that too. That's why I always surrounded myself with animals. The wife of a couple that took us in was trying to have a conversation. Me and my heart will start pounding. We'll be trying to get away from her. Yeah, yeah. I feel that way around a lot of people, and that's not always a reflection of you. Sometimes it's a reflection of their energy, unfortunately.